Staging is a broad but important concept that can be applied to really any visual art. Staging is the presentation of a shot in a way that makes the content of the shot as clear as possible and the narrative function of the shot as strong as possible. It's important to think about staging from the initial pre-production and storyboarding all the way through the final animation. Right from the beginning, when you're designing an environment, make sure there are clear visual cues that let the audience understand the nature of that environment. For example, if the scene is set in an abandoned warehouse, make sure it looks abandoned. Graffiti and a little rubble make it clear that no employees will be coming through anytime soon. As soon as the audience sees an environment, they'll automatically form an impression of it, so make sure it's the right one. In filmmaking, there are many different kinds of shots. When you're choosing a shot, consider the distance from the camera, as well as the angle of the camera. There are also many more specific shot types that each have a specific function. Each of these different shots makes the audience think about your subject in a different way. These shot choices are the vocabulary of filmmaking. Using the right one at the right time helps your story be understood. Once you've picked the type of shot, you need to think about the composition of elements within the frame. Composition is a huge topic of its own, but remember, the primary goal with filmmaking composition is to make sure your audience's eye goes exactly where you want and understands the information you want them to know. Consider all the lines, shapes, and color values in the shot, and make sure that they are all leading the audience to the important elements in the scene. A handy composition tool is the rule of thirds. Centering things in the frame tends to look static and boring. It's more dynamic to imagine that the screen is divided in thirds horizontally and vertically, and put your points of focus at the intersections. This will help you balance your compositions, particularly when you have multiple subjects in the shot. An important concept you'll need to understand in order to achieve the compositions you want is blocking. Blocking is a very old term that goes all the way back to stage plays. Blocking is the positioning and movement of characters and subjects within the environment of the scene. In 3D animation, this is done just like in a film or play, but within your virtual space. You position your camera and characters so that the camera sees what you want at any given time. As the characters and the camera move in relationship to each other, the blocking shifts from one composition to another, leading to a change in the information being conveyed. Since things are moving now, this is where we start to get into the animation. Timing is an animation principle all its own, but here we mean it in the general sense of making sure the right thing happens at the right time, particularly when you have a moving camera. In general, you only want one important thing to be happening at any given time, and no other elements in the scene should be distracting. Now we're getting down to the details of character animation. Your animation is made up of a series of poses. As you choose poses, make sure to consider the staging to make sure each pose is as clear as possible. The best way to do this is with the silhouette rule. Your character and whatever they're doing should be crystal clear just from their silhouette. Shots can go by very quickly, and you don't want the audience to spend even a fraction of a second trying to figure out what they're looking at. Their brain should be focused on the story. Posing for clarity will also make your animations look better. Take a look at this walk cycle. Now look at it in silhouette. Here, where the arms are both down, you can't see them in the silhouette. Even though it's just a frame, it gives a slight stutter to the animation. It's better to adjust the timing and the pose so that the arms always break the silhouette of the body on every frame. Here are some other principles closely related to staging. Feel free to check them out or just move on to the next video. I'll see you there.